There's a really great video out there that shows how to do this starter replacement job. He's got a lot of tips and tricks, a lot of background, a lot of reasons why it happens. There's actually probably some technical service bulletins about this issue where the oil, especially during oil changes, you take the filter off, it soaks the starter with oil, eventually that gets inside, gets all over the brushes, and then you get these intermittent no start conditions. Yeah, here at the auto parts store. Died in the parking lot. Okay, let's hear that click. Go ahead. Okay, that's it. So, 2002 Ford Taurus starter replacement. Going to take off this plastic shroud. One up there on the fender. There's one YouTube video out there that I saw that recommended you take the splice shield off to give you better access to the starter. We went ahead and did that, but later found out that it probably was not necessary. So I'd recommend you try replacing the starter without taking that plastic splice shield off.
Size these are.
There she blows. Got a little grease knocked off it where we banged it to try and get one more start out of it. Didn't work though. One of those was 13mm for the positive battery cable and a 10 for the give it the go on the relay.
There we go again. What do you think?
That second bolt goes in from like the driver's side direction towards the passenger side. Okay, it's loose. Just trying to figure the angle out to get her out of there.
Okay, my converter isn't helping me any. Come in.
Well, there she blows, pretty much covered with oil. It's probably the classic problem of oil getting into the brushes. So there's what you've got on the bottom. That's the lower bolt. Then there's a guide pin there in the middle. And then on the top, there's an upper bolt, and that came in from the opposite side here. And there's that oil filter. There's oil, dripping off of it. Not sure if it's loose or just a leaky old car, but that's right above where that starter hooks in here. Right in the back where the brushes are. Always lay your parts side by side before you get too in depth. Make sure you got a match. Looks right. Do not remove this lead. Crimp and heat shrink to the existing lead. What's wrong with the screw? So basically all you have is your positive lead connects there, your control lead there, then the solenoid is just a big relay. You give her plus 12 on that stud there, it pulls in, puts 12 volts to the other side, down to the motor, which is grounded, so should take off and spin. I want to do a little inspection here, make sure you don't have a lot of severe damage. This is the old starter, but if the old starter had a lot of severe damage here, you might have some kind of an alignment issue, like maybe at some point somebody left out a shim. But this is your Bendix, and when your starter pulls in and gives the 12 volts to the motor, It also throws out this gear which engages with the flywheel. That comes out, engages with the flywheel. When you let off the key, pops back in. Okay, so they put some kind of a plastic cover over the end because they've obviously acknowledged that there is an oil contamination issue with these. So this new end, they're basically saying that they've determined that a lot of times the last 2, 3, 4 inches of this wire can get corrosion in it, and that's a lot of times the cause of a no start. So they want you to cut that wire, crimp it, heat shrink it, put this new one on. But we're going to decide whether we want to do that. I think we're just going to take it off, put the factory connection on there if the existing wire looks good. For those Spanish people. Comes with a new butt connector that you got to crimp down, and you're supposed to get a heat shrink gun, pull this over the top of it, heat shrink her down. Okay, we've got that control cable pulled up here. We're going to take a look at it. It's got some plastic protective sheath on it. Making a slight modification, taking a little nub off of this. It was just a little different than the other starter. They really don't want you to get that nut off of there. They want you to use that new piece of wire they give you, but I don't think it's worth it. Bolts are the same size. One of the videos from a Ford tech said these are special bolts with a coating on them that makes them electrically conductive. That sounds a little iffy to me, but anyway, they're blue. They may be special, so reuse them. They appear to be the same length. Well, they got that new starter up in there pretty easy. Got the bottom bolt in, started now. And we'll get that top bolt. See, it's coming from back over on this side. Screwing in towards the passenger side over here. 13mm ratcheting is working great for that top bolt. Let's do this. So these two bolts holding on, you can get fairly aggressive there. You're not going to get it too tight with a typical wrench. Now when you go to tighten these electrical ones, you don't want to get too crazy there. Those studs will snap pretty easy, so cinch them down till they stop, then just give it a little bit extra. Should be fine. Probably should have taken that off first. The end of it,
Yeah.
it's just got a little bit of a booger on it. No, haven't been over there yet. I see they got some activity over there.
Yep.
Battery terminal's back on. We're ready for the smoke test. Another successful project. I just put that bad boy back on.
They're all loose, I think, in there. I think you just get lucky on some of them. There's a lot of play. I think he's right. Must be a 5.5.
So what do we have on there now?
Or wait,
6?
yeah, it's a 6.
6mm?
Yep. I don't think we would have had to take the thing off at all.
You don't think we'd had to take that shroud off to change the starter?
I never did bring my hands on the front side of that member.
Okay. So maybe save yourself a little time. Don't take that shroud off.
Yeah.
Probably work for you.
Yeah, definitely.
The bottom bolt on the starter is a pretty easy one to get to, 13mm. The top bolt, you can kind of see it from the top. It was fairly easy to get to from the bottom with a 13mm ratcheting wrench. You want to be careful. There's a 15mm bell housing bolt that from the top you might get confused and think it's a starter bolt, but it's not. So if you can't get your 13mm wrench on it, you're probably not on a starter bolt.